Hi, it's Carol from Allergy Free Living. I want to make a surprise meatloaf tonight for all of you people who have allergies and think that you have to live and eat dough. Well, not in this kitchen. So, what I've done is all of the ingredients here are allergy free, and this is the start of, as I said, a surprise meatloaf. So I took the meatloaf and I mixed it up with my recipe, but most people have their own meatloaf recipe. So use your meatloaf recipe. Just remember, use the gluten-free products or whatever else you need to use, which I'll show you after I make this. I'll show you what I used. So what I did was I mixed my meat and I rolled it in a ball and I cut it in half. Now this isn't a typical meatloaf, and I really think that this is something that is very unique, but it's really very good, and I think you'll really like it. So let's get going on it and we'll see. So the first thing I do is, with this, a lot of gluten-free food, even though it's meat, the reason why I'm using water is because I have to spread the meat out. So I'm using a jelly form pan, all right? And I wet my hands. I have a bowl here, and I'm going to wet my hands, and I'm going to stretch this meatloaf out to about the end. And on this one, you leave about maybe an inch and a half around the sides. And you just flatten your meat so that you have that kind of edge all along. And you're going to have to use your water. Again, not a lot. You don't want it dripping, but you want to be able to move it and not to stick to your hands. With gluten-free cooking, we end up doing that a lot of times. So this is the bottom layer of our surprise meatloaf. Now, as I'm getting this ready, I'll just give you a little story about this and what's in it. Now, once you flatten it out, you have to put different things on it. And of course, I forgot my cheese, so wait a minute. Sorry. This is what's so much fun about doing it on your own. You're all forgiving. So what I'm going to do is, there are 3 ingredients to what I'm going to put on this meatloaf. One is a can of peas. Now you'll see they're called LeSueur sweet peas. They're very little. Now I know some of you are like rolling your eyes. Who does this? Well, that's what I thought when I had this. And that's what everybody else that I've made this for did the same thing. But when they ate it, no, they couldn't believe it. So you're going to take the peas and you're just going to pour them down the middle. And you're just going to spread it out to the end of your meatloaf here. I just want to show you. And you just keep pouring it out. If you can't use all of it, you can't. Some people will fit it all on there and that'll work. So that's the can of peas. Okay, now here's the next thing. And it's hard-boiled eggs. And again, we're going to see the face. There's 4 hard-boiled eggs, and they're chopped up. And you're just going to, again, put them all around. And you want to softly, you get them to the end, but you don't want them to fall over. You softly push them down. And really, when people, one of my friends, just to let you know how I understand some people don't think hard-boiled eggs and meatloaf and even peas belong together. And when she was invited over to eat it, she saw what it was, and it was like, she was trying to be polite, and she took a little piece, and I could tell, but I'm not going to say anything. And then you can see her eyes light up, and the next thing you know, she's eating the rest of it. I'm now sprinkling the cheese over it. And here is what it looks like at this point. And again, you're just gonna just sprinkle it around. So, and as far as, you know, how much cheese, I really think I mean, for me, I've probably used 2 cups, and I use Monterey Jack, Cabot cheese. Monterey Jack is the one I have. And I also threw in a little bit of Vermont cheddar. You can put whatever you want. You really can. There's no, and the other thing is, if you don't like peas, I mean, really hate them, you can use corn. That would be just as good. So I'm just telling you, this is the way it was made for me, and I do it. But I would try corn, but that's up to you. That's what's so nice about seeing this and knowing that you have whatever options you can. I'm just showing you what you can do, but the sky's the limit. That's the thing about this. You can do whatever you want. You have the basic here. So that's the good thing. Now we have the next other half, okay, of the meatloaf. So what I'm going to do is put some water in my hands, and I'm just going to take a little piece of it like that. Kind of looks like a hamburger if you're going to press it. And you're going to press it out as much as you can. You don't want it so thin that it's going to fall. And see what I did here? I'm making the top now to cover all this lovely stuff inside here. And that's what you're going to do. Again, you take a piece, make sure your hands are wet so it won't stick. And you're just like as if you had a hamburger and you were making a hamburger patty. And you just flatten it out and you layer it. And see what I'm doing? And this is what you do throughout the whole thing. And then I'll show you what you do next. Now, usually with something like this, when it's done and all, nice rice is good with this. Like if you have a cup of regular rice and 2 cups of water. Another thing I do when I do that is I take my 2 cups of water and I put in 2 teaspoons of like chicken bouillon or 2 teaspoons of beef bouillon. This is beef if you want beef. And I put that in the water with the rice when it's boiling. And I also put, of course, butter in there too. And it really is a nice flavor. It complements this. It really does. And if you've seen my video that I put up yesterday about the must-have pantry for people with gluten or allergies, you'll see some of these products. I talked about the cheese. And also another really good thing with this is the bush baked beans, which I showed on the video that I did for the pantry. So here we go. I just want to show you how far we're going on this. And so if you have the beans and the rice with the nice bouillon in it, you've already got peas or carrots, so peas or corn, whichever you want, and a nice salad, and you're all set. This would be a great meal, but it's up to you. I just want to show you that there are so many things you can do, even though we have allergies. That isn't going to stop you from enjoying your food, and that's why I'm doing this. I want you to see. I wish you could taste it. I really do. But believe me, you're going to like it. And like I said, if you don't like peas, then, use corn. Okay, now I'm done with putting it on the top, and I want you to see what it looks like, okay? So now I'm going to put more water on my fingers, and you really want to work the edges. You see the edges here? You kind of want to stick everything in there, and you kind of see that little thing there, you kind of poke it, and you want to hide it. I'm not saying if something's sticking through, it's a bad thing. It's not at all. So we're going to do this all around. Now it might take you longer. Please remember that. I've been doing this for a long time. So if yours takes a while, that's okay. When I first did it, it was the same thing. You know what? Patience is something you need for cooking. Okay, so I've done it all around, and I'm going to show you. This is what it looks like. Now, this little one here I am talking about. See, even I missed a spot. And then I just like to kind of straighten up the corners, flatten the top out, just so it looks nice. I mean, you don't want a mound in the middle and then nothing on the sides. So you're just kind of cleaning it up, I would say, is the word. And that's how you do it. I'm using my hand like this and my finger here, and you're just pushing it so that it's nice and straight. And the reason why isn't just for the looks, although that's nice, I'll let you see. It's also important that if your food is consistent, like 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, pretty much so, then it will cook evenly. Again, if you had a mound this high and the bottom was low, it's not, the inside isn't going to cook right, and the sides are going to cook quicker. So this is what you don't want. So this is the meatloaf, the surprise meatloaf as it stands right now. Now notice I called it a surprise meatloaf. Excuse me. And that's because, yes, there's a surprise inside, but I also put something on top. Again, I've said to you, everybody thinks that gluten-free and allergy-free, it's horrible food, just horrible food. Well, I think that was the reason why I got so into this, because I want to show people that it isn't, and that these are the things that you can do. And this is what I'm going to show you. So this is a sauce, and in it is ketchup, brown sugar, and honey. And I just mix it together. You want it to be like this. Okay? So I'm going to take it, and I'm going to go like this to the middle. Okay. Now, I'm just going to move it so that you see. I'm going to move this. I don't want it right to the edge, and I'll show you. Like, keep it like 2/3 in the center. I'll show you when I'm done. And the only reason why I don't go all the way to the edge is because it's going to move anyways. And if you get it all the way to the edge, then it's going to fall down onto the pan. So if you leave it, I'll show you where I have it. It's going to work its way to your sides anyways. So you'd rather have it work its sides, work its way to the edges while it's cooking, and it'll make its way and probably won't go further than the edge of what you have. So this is fine. This is how I did it, okay? There we go. Just so that you can see what I've done. So that's it. Now, I'm moving some of it that moved already. Now, it's good to have this water here. So, I'm done with this. And now I'm going to put it in the oven at 350. And with everything that I bake, pretty much, I put, usually has 3 racks or 4. I think mine has 4. So I have it up to one rack above the center. 350, 1 rack above the center. And I would say you can cook it for about a half an hour. But this is your friend, and this is a thermometer. Now, really, the only way to really check meat is with a thermometer, and this is a digital one. And you stick it in, like, usually if I say 30 minutes, but everybody's oven is different. Like, my top oven is hotter than my top one. The bottom one is hotter than the top one. So I have to check things sooner on that one. Just take your thermometer and don't go all the way down. Go just a little bit to the center of your meat and wait for it to register to 160. So that should be good because, see, this meatloaf mix is veal, ground beef, and something else I can't remember, the mix that you usually get. And so you want to make sure that it's cooked. So that's it. Cook this for probably, check it in 25 minutes. Check with your thermometer, 160 degrees. And just so I told you, I'll put this in. So let me put it in. Okay, now I want to show you what I used. You already saw the peas, because I think it's important. And you'll say, why these fancy ones? Well, because they're small and they're sweet and they're really the best peas. Would I typically buy this for any other, food or any other type of peas? I would use any other, but when you're doing the surprise meatloaf, these are the best. Just my suggestion. Then I use the gluten-free breadcrumbs, and I used oatmeal. I had the Bob Red Mill oatmeal. That's this, but that's my recipe, whatever you use. But I'm just telling you, on the bottom of that jelly pan, I put some shortening and just spread it so that when you put the meat on there, it has something so it won't stick when you take it out. And then the topping is not tomato paste, it's ketchup, mustard, and honey, and brown sugar. But as I always say, when you're watching this video, Surprise Meatloaf, right on the title, Surprise Meatloaf, if you touch that, out pops the ingredients, and I'll tell you what I use, like 4 hard-boiled eggs chopped. So that way you can see. But remember, use your own recipe. Well, I hope you enjoy this. I really do. And if someone doesn't want to try it, well, then it's their loss. But I will tell you that a lot of people who don't like those things in there, they were just flabbergasted. So I hope you like it. Enjoy, and we'll see you again for another dinner. It's a surprise, whatever's in the refrigerator. So if you haven't already, I'd suggest that you go and see the video on a necessary pantry for all people with allergies. I think you'll learn a lot from it, and it'll always be there for you. Okay, thank you and take care. Enjoy.